Good afternoon and welcome to Chargers Outside Zone. I'm Chuck.
I'm Thomas.
And today we're going to take a look at Thomas's 2022 NFL schedule projections, predicting wins. We went through the exercise online and we have the results.
Yes, and it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and then just one other side note. We mentioned bringing on a special podcast guest in our next episode, and that is going to happen. So we will have Sports Illustrated's Connor Orr joining us, and we'll get to talk to Connor and see what he thinks of the upcoming season. We saw some of his bold projections, and we'll keep diving into those. But with that, this is a father-son hobby where we focus on team building. We are not experts. We do not do gambling or betting talk, and we stay away from hot takes the best we can.
Yes, which we have, but this seemed a little bit spicy.
Yeah, there might be a couple of things here that are a little hot takey, if you will.
Yeah.
With that, we'll jump in. Like we said online, we used next.playoffpredictors.com, and really good website if you want to go out and walk through an entire season. Apparently you can log in, you can save scores, or you can just select teams like we did, but it walks you all the way through the season week by week. And
even to the playoffs.
And even through the playoffs. So we'll see some of that here today. Great website.
Yes.
And so when you went through the schedule and selected winners and losers of each games, in the AFC East, you had the Buffalo Bills winning with a 13-4 record.
Yes.
I think we see Josh Allen returning and the Bills being a powerhouse.
For many years.
Yeah, for many years. But you also have here the Patriots going 5-1 in their division and winning 11 out of 17 games, finish 11-6, and making the playoffs as the 5 seed.
Yes.
That might be a little surprise for some people.
I don't bet against Bill.
No betting against Bill. He's going to find a way.
Yes.
Understood. You do have the Jets finishing 5-12 and the Dolphins, I guess, adjusting to the new regime, trying to find their way, finishing 4-13 and finishing last in the AFC East.
Yes. The Jets should be better.
But still come out on the losing side of most of the games.
Yes.
Just more competitive.
Yes.
And
they'll be like the Lions.
Okay.
They'll be scrappy.
They'll be a scrappy team.
Scrappy bunch.
And the Dolphins just
don't trust Tua.
Okay. Understood.
They don't. It's something about that arm.
Okay. You ready to move on to the AFC North?
Yes.
With the AFC North, you have the Cincinnati Bengals going 6-0 in the division and finishing with a record of 15-2.
Yes. Because they didn't lose anybody I do, so did they?
I don't think they lost any major players, and it looks like they did some things to bolster that offensive line. So instead of Joe Burrow getting sacked a bunch, their offense,
Super Bowl by
their offensive passing game and their running game should be improved with the linemen that they signed.
Yes,
I guess. Interesting. 2 teams in the AFC North, the Steelers and the Ravens, finishing 11-6 and not making the playoffs. So if you go 11-6, there is a scenario where you don't make the playoffs. We see it here with 2 teams. I imagine Baltimore would be quite upset after missing the playoffs last year. I think the Steelers would Winning 11 games would be happy with everything overall, with new quarterbacks and whatnot. But
especially with that fan base.
With that fan base, I mean, they would love winning 11 games, being outside the playoffs. And then the Browns, we're not really sure what they're going to look like this year. They have a lot of talent on the roster, but, is it Jacoby Brissett? Is it Deshaun Watson? Is it, something else? All right. You ready for the AFC South?
Yes.
On to the AFC South, where the Titans repeat as the AFC South divisional winners here, finishing with a 14-3 record. The Colts come in second place, 9-8, just outside a good record, but finishing 10th in the division.
The reason why I have the Titans, did they lose any?
A.J. Brown went to Philly. They're replacing him with Treylon Burks and Robert Woods.
Running back,
you're hoping that Derrick Henry stays healthy. Last year he didn't, and they still finished with the
winning record
and number one seed. And at the bottom of the division there, you have the Jaguars and Texans both going 5-12. I think both rosters need to get better.
Yes.
Yeah. On to the AFC West.
Yes.
And the Los Angeles Chargers, with that number one seed, finishing the season 16-1, 5-1 in the division. I'm guessing that was a loss to the Chiefs in Kansas City, maybe. But then the Chiefs and the Broncos finish 11-6, 3-3 in their division. Those two 11-6 teams bump out the two AFC North 11-6 teams to make the playoffs there. And the Raiders finish in fourth place in the AFC West, fourth in the AFC West with a 7-10 record.
But this should be a tough division no matter who.
Yeah, it would be a tough division. Obviously, you have them going, or it shows here you have them going 1-5 in the division. So that's probably where they end up 7-10 versus 10-7 or a better record.
Yes.
Not winning those divisional games. On to the NFC East, where you have the Philadelphia Eagles finishing the season with a 13-4 record. Pretty much running away with this division, winning 5 out of 6 games in division. And
the Cowboys, I don't think got better. I don't think the
interesting part here is you have the Cowboys finishing 7-10, winning 4 out of 6 in the division. So they go 3-8 outside the NFC East. I have to imagine if this happens that Jerry Jones's little pea head is going to explode.
Yes. I don't think they got better.
Understood. I can't even remember. Who did they draft?
I think they drafted an offensive lineman. Leave that in the comments.
Yeah, well, they drafted, Tyler Smith out of Tulsa?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they lost a lot of linemen. Interesting here, the Giants under Brian Dable, Danny Dimes, Saquon Barkley, win 3, lose 13, tie 1 game. That would be a terrible season for the New York Giants. And the Washington Commanders go 1-15-1, and I think those two teams tie each other in this game or in this projection. Two terrible seasons for teams that I guess you're saying aren't very good.
Two not so good franchises.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming the...
Anticipating some bad quarterback play in those two places?
Yes.
Understood.
I'm anticipating very bad quarterback play.
All right, let's move on to the NFC North. And the Green Bay Packers winning this division at 13-4. You have the Vikings taking home that 7th playoff seed here at 9-8, whereas 11-6 didn't even get into the playoffs in the AFC. 9-8 makes the playoffs here. The Lions go 9-8. I'm sure they would be absolutely thrilled with a winning season. The only issue is going 9-8 and being the first team out of the playoffs.
Yes, the Lions seem like they're going to be a good team. Last year they were a scrappy bunch.
The scrappy bunch last year. Hopefully that translates into wins this year. The arrow's pointing up hopefully for them, and not just sideways or down anymore. And then the Bears finish off the NFC North here at 4-13. It's Justin Fields and who else there in Chicago.
They didn't really build around.
They also have a new regime trying to install, and could be a bad year if you're a Chicago Bears fan. On to the NFC South, where I think the biggest surprise of all is the NFC South, where you have the Atlanta Falcons, generally considered to have the worst roster in the NFL, taking home the NFC South with a 9-8 record, finishing 5-1 in the division, and being your number 4 seed based on the record, or winning the division. They get to play at home in that wild card weekend.
Honestly, their only competition is the
we got the Saints at 8-9 and the Buccaneers at 5-12. So the Saints, it looks like have an up and down season where they finish just on the wrong side of a winning record, and then the Buccaneers, I'm guessing if they go 5-12, something's gone wrong.
Yeah. I'm expecting growing pains because both of them have head coaching changes. I'm expecting...
Well, the one thing about their head coaching changes is both of them are in-house coaching changes.
Yes.
So it might not be because they still have their offensive coordinators from last year. They still have their defensive coordinators now being their head coaches. Having replaced themselves is, there'll be another defensive coordinator in the room.
Yes.
But I think a lot of their fingerprints will be on those defenses. Yes. But interesting division here with the Panthers coming in last at 2-15. Just another rough.
The head coach gets fired.
Yeah,
and GM gets fired, and
with a record of 2-15 to finish the season, I mean, they would have to get those 2 wins, early for them to survive the bye week, right?
Yeah,
it might be a quick season for Matt Rule.
I'm expecting the. Basically the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Well, a lot of people say that the Panthers, outside of quarterback, have a decent roster.
But their head coach is on the hot seat.
Head coach is on the hot seat. If he gets fired early, could be some turmoil. Bringing in Baker, some of the news, their sense of urgency. Now you have Baker, Sam Darnold, Matt Corral.
What does that say about Matt Corral and Sam Darnold?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't say anything great, but yeah, just a lot of confusion there at quarterback. And
I think they messed up this draft.
Yeah. So Panthers finishing 2-15.
Personally, I think they messed up this draft.
Hard to believe that a team out there had a worse record than the Panthers, but the Commanders are there to keep them from the bottom.
Keep them nice and warm.
Yeah, and in the NFC West, 3 teams making the playoffs here. The LA Rams win the division, win that number 1 seed, that bye week, 13-4. San Francisco, 10-6-1. I think this was another in-division tie game where the Niners and Cardinals tie. The Cardinals beat out those Lions in a similar way to the Steelers beating out the Chargers last year, 9-7-1, beating out 9-8. So the Rams, Niners, and Cardinals all make the playoffs out of that NFC West. And the Seahawks are the only NFC West team not to make the playoffs at 3-14. A lot bigger distance between them and the third place team in that division.
Yes, I think they don't want to say they're in a rebuild, but they're pretty close.
Yeah, I think
to a rebuild.
I think if the Seahawks traded Russell Wilson, kept Pete Carroll, and Pete Carroll goes 3-14 in 2022, they might be searching for a new head coach.
I mean, you can always look at.
So that might be at that point a complete rebuild at 3-14.
You can always look at Todd Bowles.
Well, I mean, we won't get into their head coaching search at this point, but I think that would mean the end for one Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
In Seattle.
Yes.
All right, so there you have the regular season finishes, and you can kind of see the playoff teams highlighted with green numbers to the side of them, 1 through 7, and who did not make the playoffs. So then we'll move on to the AFC and NFC Wild Card weekend, and we'll start off with the AFC. Here you went New England Patriots over the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. Kind of a shocker for me.
I think Bill Belichick goes with the same strategy as he did that
windy night.
Full Monday windy night.
Yeah. I hate to say that you're wrong here, but I'm going to say that Josh Allen is the difference.
Okay.
And but this is your projection. We'll continue along, this path, but I would have a hard time seeing Josh Allen losing at home in a playoff game in Buffalo.
And it might be
with the talent that he has around him and the defense that he has. But you also have the Patriots finishing 11-6, and maybe I'm underestimating what the Patriots could be with a second-year Mac Jones and Bill Belichick and Matt Patricia calling the offense, whatever that is. So let's see. That's why they play the games, right?
Yes, this is not gameplay. This is.
Yeah. So as you see here, then the Chiefs upset the Tennessee Titans. More an upset of number 6 seed over number 3 seed. I imagine if this were to happen, that the Tennessee Titans fans would be quite angry, finishing as a 1 seed last year, losing at home in their first playoff game, turning around the very next year, having a home game in the wild card weekend, and lose no matter who it is, Kansas City, Cincinnati, somebody else, losing to any team at home in their first playoff game. Titans fans are going to be quite angry.
Yes. But you got the quarterback I kind
Ryan
of...
Tannehill, you just don't have faith in Tannehill in the playoffs?
I don't have faith.
Understood.
I think he's a game manager.
And then the playoffs are just too big?
And then the playoffs are just too big.
Yeah. And the Kansas City Chiefs are a tough out in the playoffs. You know, if they have a slow start this year with that defense trying to find its way, once they get to the playoffs, they might be playing much better than they did early in the season. So we'll see.
Yeah.
You finally have a home team, the Cincinnati Bengals, the number 2 seed, defeating Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. I think, here it's going to be hard to win in Cincinnati in the playoffs. So, yeah, I can see that.
Yes.
And Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow, right?
Yeah.
All right. NFC Wild Card. We start off with the San Francisco 49ers traveling to those surprise Atlanta Falcons and getting the win in Atlanta. So the Niners moving on.
I honestly think it's going to be if this happens, it's going to be a certain Raiders Bengals deja vu.
Okay. I'm not sure I fully understand that, but
because the Bengals beat a surprise
oh, okay. Raider team. Okay.
Both were surprises, but
yeah.
One was dealing with turmoil.
Yeah, understood. Green Bay winning at home against the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, the Cardinals would struggle in that game because it'll be likely cold in Green Bay that time of year.
It's the frozen tundra.
Yeah. And then Minnesota traveling to Philly and losing to the Eagles. You obviously are high on the Eagles. They finished as the number 2 seed. Yeah. They get a win here in Wild Card, so
yes,
you're a Jalen Hurts believer.
I'm
maybe that defense.
I'm a defense Jalen Hurts believer.
Okay.
And there's too many weapons not to
for them not to succeed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's get on to the divisional round here. You have the Cincinnati Bengals defeating those pesky New England Patriots in the divisional round, and then a really heartbreaking loss here by the Chargers after going 16-1. As they open up their playoffs, you have them losing to the Kansas City Chiefs in SoFi Stadium.
Which is kind of it. If it happens, it's going to be heartbreaking. But you get 3 chances.
Yeah, 3 chances against the Kansas City Chiefs. Very understandable. Chargers winning 16 games in the regular season, that would be awesome. And then, this could come down to, some kind of shootout like we saw with Kansas City and Buffalo last year, or Vegas versus the Raiders versus Chargers last year, last team with the ball wins kind of thing.
Yes.
So
this is
it's one of those anything can happen games, right?
This is a bad bounce
game for the Chargers. Understood. We here at Chargers Outside Zone would like to see and just project the Chargers to win the Super Bowl. But in this case, as we went through it, you lean Kansas City, and so we move on, right?
Yes.
NFC Divisional here, your favorite Philadelphia Eagles also take a loss to the Green Bay Packers.
Yes. The
Green Bay moving on, and that Jalen Hurts Eagles defense, their dream season finally comes to an end.
The Eagles are just too green.
Too green, understood. And then in another, divisional game where these teams have met several times over the last year, this would be their 6th meeting in 2 seasons. The LA Rams over the San Francisco 49ers. I imagine this is probably a bad ball bounce game as well.
Yes.
Instead of Jimmy Garoppolo out there, it's Trey Lance. Instead of Jaquiski Tart dropping a game-winning touchdown, a game-winning interception, it's a bounce that goes LA's way, and
yes,
and they win. So the Rams moving on.
Yes.
And then in the AFC Championship, Kansas City travels to Cincinnati, and the Bengals once again prove too much for the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a repeat of last year's AFC Championship game. Different stadium, same result. Cincinnati winning.
You could say that there's going to be a different result because of the fans. I just think...
well, the fans here are Cincinnati's playing at home, so they're going to have even more support than they had last year in the championship game.
They also look at what they did.
Yep.
And is Jamar Chase still in his rookie deal?
Oh, yeah. He's in his rookie deal for the next at least 2 years.
Breaking
an
news.
Extension.
Breaking news.
He's a good wide receiver.
He's a good wide receiver.
Yeah, understood.
And that connection is really good.
And since, like we mentioned earlier, Cincinnati building that offensive line, bolstering that. So it'll be interesting. You have the Bengals returning to the Super Bowl. The Rams are still in. Is it a repeat of Super Bowl 56? Let's find out. No. You have the Green Bay Packers winning the NFC Championship, defeating the Rams at SoFi Stadium, moving on to Super Bowl 57.
It's going to be like a bad bounce game as well.
This means you have one Aaron Rodgers towards the end of his career, Joe Burrow, 3rd-year quarterback in his 2nd Super Bowl. And for Super Bowl 57...
in whatever
in
stadium.
Arizona, the Cincinnati Bengals get the job done, bringing home the Lombardi or taking the Lombardi back to Cincinnati.
Yes, I think Aaron Rodgers is just a little too old and...
Well, my one comment here about the Green Bay Packers making the Super Bowl, it would definitely be on the back of Aaron Rodgers. Like we said in different podcasts, that wide receiver room is empty. It's lacking. He's got a long way to go to get there. He's going to have to do some amazing things. I probably would bet against him.
That back is still good to...
Still strong enough to carry
them to the Super Bowl, but...
We got 33 seconds here on the timer. Let's go ahead and finish this thing. Here's the draft order out of Thomas's projections, where the Chargers, having finished 16-1, losing in the divisional round, they picked 28th. So they moved down the roster. And with that, subscribe to the channel, give us a like, turn on the notifications, follow us on Twitter at LEC Outside Zone, and we'll see you on Saturday with Connor Orr. Bye.
Bye.